And we are live. Thank you for joining today's webinar, remote work about remote work, and also about talking about intelligent mobile security. I think people have joined. Let's start the presentation and we'll kick off. So about me, my name is Olof Norman. I'm a cloud success manager at Onevinn. Here you have my contact details, and I mainly work as enabler for the companies. So when we, as Onevinn as a company, do implementations of modern workplace, the companies mostly they want to know how to actually enable the new services, Microsoft services, Microsoft 365, and so on. And this is my job is mainly to focus on giving them the best business value they can bring. And with that, we have developed a framework. So I will show you a little bit about that before we get into details in this webinar about remote work. So Onevinn Secure Cloud Adoption Framework is a thing that we have developed during the years when we realized that people are when they are introduced to new services, when they want to implement new stuff, they tend to go ahead and skip a couple of stages and go directly into the adopt stages. So what we have done is we developed this cloud adoption framework where we can put up take 2 steps back from actually just going to implement. For an example, Intune or Azure Active Directory or Office 365. We can go back and say, how's that aligning with your overall strategy? And we can take that through a couple of workshops that will give the customer a better plan. So when they go to the adoption phase, they will know exactly what they will do. They have the budget for it. They have a better plan for it. And then it's also easier to govern the services that you implement into your organization when you are using this framework, so that you know that you're using it the right way, you're utilizing the services that you pay for, and so on. And then over to the manage stage, when you have your IT department that's going to manage those new services. How are they going to do that? With that, we have a couple of underlying, just to give you a heads up on how this could look, where you have, from a strategy perspective, you have the modern workplace. I have highlighted a couple of those in this slide, just to get you a feel for you how to move ahead when we're talking about securing your modern workplace. These can be sets of workshops. For an example, modern workplace, you have information protection, security, governance, compliance, and threat protection. These will give you a good set of feedback to actually go into planning, see how are my organization fit for these new services. Do we need some skill readiness? And out of that comes a cloud adoption plan. With that cloud adoption plan, we know how we are actually going to implement these moving on. Then we know which workplace workloads we need to implement, which kind of security workloads, how are we aligning these? Do we have to take them in a certain order? How are they aligning with other projects that's going on within the organization? And then when you move then to the govern phase, you can benchmark the services that we put in place. Are we utilizing the services? Are we actually giving them are we utilizing, for example, Intune? Are we utilizing Azure Active Directory features that we were supposed to? How do we work with Teams instead of emailing stuff? and how are information flowing? Do we need more education on the information protection stuff and so on? So that's really a good framework. And of course, in the end, when you have to take care of the workloads, you also need workload operations, how you're actually going to manage these. We have, for an example, Security Operations Center, where we can take care of security workloads for you as a managed services as well. So these are a good 5 steps to bear in mind when you do implementation for cloud services going forward. So a little bit about the introduction now to intelligent mobile security. So what we see when we do implementation projects like this is we need to have the end user experience in mind and security as our #1 priority, because these endpoints are when you talk about, for an example, zero trust, as Microsoft say, these are the endpoints that's going to have a lot of information on them. How do we secure that? How are the user actually going to use the device, even if it's a PC or a phone or whatever you have, and how is that going to interact with staying secure? And users, as we know, they now need to work from wherever they can, and we need to secure that scenario as well. So we need to put up certain scenarios for these use cases, and a user laptop device is their meeting with IT. So we need to do these as seamless as possible as well. So we know that the user and the device is secure, but the end user can utilize the services that we provide in a good way. And a modern Intune and Azure Active Directory managed device is the goal for many organizations now, where we can utilize the new services and take care of these features. But those projects can be complex, and there could be as well as compliance and other regulations that are holding you back in this. So these are those questions that's or statements that we see when we talk about intelligent mobile security with our customers. And there is a smart way to modernize and secure these. And this is why we are having this webinar, for an example, because we want to bring you a way to modernize your environment with a focus on the biggest win for end user experience. But the biggest point here is to secure your endpoints the best way possible. And for that, we need to discuss how to secure your devices that are accessing corporate information 24/7. And now I have the pleasure to introduce to you Fredrik from Lookout, who's going to take care of the presentation going forward and present how Lookout is managing this for organizations. So welcome, Fredrik.
Thank you very much for the introduction of me and of Onevinn. Yeah, my name is Fredrik von Sydow. I work in the Lookout organization, responsible for sales in the Nordics and Baltics. So try to cover that. A little bit challenging here in the pandemic times, but we're doing what we can. And the topic for today, yeah, it is about securing the mobile workforce and the increased interest in working remotely. I mean, this has been a trend all over the world, but I think especially in Sweden and in the Nordics, that we allow our employees to work remotely, no matter where they are and how they move around. We have allowed them to use their mobile phones, tablets, etc., for both private and business work. And just a quick slide on this from IDC. I mean, it's not a surprise for anybody that we are working remotely. But before, at least 40% of the staff actually worked 100% in an office. But going forward and right now and next year and the coming years, the insights says that there will be very rare people, very few people in the future working 100% from the office. Everybody, all users will be connecting from different locations, using different devices to perform their job in the best way. So we as organizations and supplier needs to adapt to this change. Now it will be 100% of the users that are looking for a solution, a safe solution to interact with the corporate data, etc. And I mean, the best way to do this, and it's our fantastic mobile phones that we all love, but I mean, of course, it also creates vulnerability, and it has actually become the primary target for espionage, both from country to country, but also privately. But what we are talking about today, perhaps, is more the business side of it. I mean, as you all know, the device is a fantastic work tool. It's always connected. It supports voice, camera, emails, locations, passwords. But I mean, these are also the vulnerabilities that the device brings. So it's a huge upside, but it also creates vulnerabilities against threats that people create that wants harm to your organization or you personally. And that is what we at Lookout are looking for to help you with, to secure the device and create a safe workplace. I will come back to, but we look at some different threat vectors when we talk about mobile security. The one that growing the most right now is the phishing. And I mean, you can read about it, and I guess that many of you unfortunately have experienced it. And phishing is not one simple solution. It comes in different flavors, different shapes. It can be like a short message from PostNord that you need to pay some extra euros or kroner to get your package, or it could be actually some attempt to steal your credentials. You're asked to log into a Google Drive or Office 365 page or login app or whatever, and it today looks very genuine. For any user, it's more or less impossible to really understand if this is fake or not. But in the ground, you have to be very suspicious when you get things. You need to be certain that this is genuine and this is something for me, and I'm supposed to click this link. Because today, a lot of these kind of text messages are actually some kind of fraud or malicious. Nobody is safe. So I'm going to show this. This is actually an attempt to against our employees and myself. Of course, we stick out. We are visible in the media. We find a lot of these threats and we publish some of them, but we help our customers to prevent this kind of attacks. So of course, we are a target for these kind of attacks. For somebody that wants to create harm and etc., it's of course fun to address Lookout as a company as well. Fortunately, we use our own solutions, so it didn't harm us in any way, but this is the way it could look like. And of course, we need to be suspicious, but we also need to educate all our employees to be suspicious every day on the phone, on your laptop, or which device you use. And unfortunately, in these times where everybody, as we discussed, moves around and wants to access data from different places, it is the enterprises and the employees that are mostly targeted, unfortunately. And there's a lot of attempts going on. Some are very harmful, but some are very mild and doesn't really cause any problems. But it is unfortunately the business users that are most likely to be addressed of these kind of phishing attacks. It is logins, credentials for corporate information that mostly are the target of this. Some people, of course, want to make a couple of bucks in an attempt of stealing €2 from you, but it is the kind of login credentials, passwords that are the main target of phishing today, and that's why the business users becomes the primary target. And today, I mean, it is unfortunately really easy to address millions of people in one attempt, because we all use these kind of applications on our phones. We use them for private, we use them for corporate communication, and we mix them in the same applications. We mix data, we mix contacts, and this creates a huge opportunity for somebody that wants to steal something. I mean, these applications, they could be like SMS only for text messages, but it's also embedded in most of the applications that we use some kind of communication, some kind of clickable links or things that we look at, or it's very simple for somebody today to approach you with a malicious link or information. So we need to be very careful. And as a security organization or IT department, we really need to help our employees to protect themselves from this. Because unfortunately, even us that works with this every day, it's impossible sometimes to stay ahead of the people doing this. So expecting an employee to do it, it's impossible, as you can understand. From Microsoft, their latest report on phishing, they stated that 0.66% of all corporate emails are actually malicious in some way. And I mean, you can feel that that's a very low number, but if you look at the volume of emails that we send and the communications that we use, it could be enough that actually one email is really malicious and creates a lot of problems for you. But on the mobile side, it's actually 1 out of 5 persons has encountered a mobile phishing attempt. So then it becomes really scary, because as we go back to the applications that I showed you before, we are not only communicating by SMS and email today, we are doing it in many different applications. And that's the way that we want to continue to use our mobile phones. But we need to take precautions and protect ourselves in a better way to avoid any kind of attacks or malicious things. I mentioned before that we try to divide the threats and into different threat vectors. And here is a scheme where we have 4 main threat vectors. We have web and content, where phishing is the fastest growing of all. We have different applications. We install applications today, and very few organizations have actually limitations for their employees what they can install. Sure, we use blacklist, whitelist, and we use these kind of things, but very few organizations, known to me at least, has really strict limitations of what you can download. And I mean, in media lately, it has become obvious that there are a lot of applications that collects data, sends data to places where there's no really good reason behind it. Why do they collect this data? Why do they send them to servers far, far away? Like TikTok, like WhatsApp and other things. And there are, we can look at the statistics, but very high percentage of our users actually have these kind of applications installed on their devices. And we can also see where the data goes from these devices and what kind of permissions they have to read our address books or activate the camera and stuff like this. So there's a lot of things going on. And then we have the two to the right, the main device itself and the network. These 2 threat vectors are very severe, and you should be cautious about it, but it's more targeted, more specific users or organizations. It's not that common anymore that these things cause problems for millions of users. It's more rare that it's more common that it's a single organization or a single user that are the target of these kind of attacks. Today, many of the companies, organizations have started the mobile journey. As Olof described before, there is a good flow, there is very good tools for generating and creating a efficient mobile workplace. And many of the companies today have started the journey by implementing an MDM or EMM solution. And that is, of course, a very good start. You will manage a fleet of devices that are scattered all over the country, the city, the world, and you can then manage them in a safe way when it comes to management. But as you can see, it doesn't really cover the threats that are out there today. So a management tool is a perfect start to manage the devices. But if you're looking for security and a safe workplace, you actually need to look at something else. And that's where we at Lookout and Onevinn come in. We can help you create a safer workplace in this way. And the green boxes that you see here are the areas where we add security to the workplace that you want to offer to your employees. And how does this work then in a fairly simple way? If you want more details, you can ask questions, so we gladly come back to it. But I mean, what it comes down to is that you have a mobile user, a mobile device that wants to access some kind of corporate data somewhere. It could be emails, it could be applications, it could be Salesforce, SAP solutions, it could be anything. They want to be able to work remotely. And our solution contains of three main different parts, you can say. We install a thin client on all devices, Android and iOS devices mainly. We also today have support for Chrome OS. But mainly for the mobile devices, it's Android and iOS users that we support and help. The second part of the solution is the security cloud. Here is all the intelligence, and here we have gathered all knowledge about different threats from the day that the company started back in 2007. So we have a lot of information gathered here. It's a huge knowledge base, and it's an AI that is learning every day, every second. We have today almost 190 million of active devices talking to our security cloud. So we are learning our solution as we go. As soon as a threat happens somewhere in the world, it becomes a part of the solution of the security cloud, and we train the solution. So if one of your employees would suffer from the same threat, we can very quickly move in and avoid that this becomes something severe. The third part is the admin console, where you can administrate and where you can set up the rules, and you can do surveillance of how is my fleet doing. And we also in this console share how is the 190 million users doing. So you can actually compare how is your assault, how many phishing attempts, how many problems of different sorts have we experienced, and is it normal? So you can compare it to the rest of the world if you want to see that have we done something good here or have we done something bad, etc. And if something happens, I mean, it could be of different severity, but something triggers an alarm out here. So it could be that somebody downloads something that's not okay. It could be that they have a faulty OS version, faulty app version. Could be that they've clicked a phishing link, as we discussed before. But then it triggers an alarm. And based on the policies and rules that are set up together with the management systems here, different kind of alerts goes out to the users. It could be as simple as telling them that, hey, we see that something has happened here. Perhaps you should have a look at it. Not that severe, but just a notification that something has happened. Or it could be that this is really severe and we are shutting down all communication to corporate data. So there's the different kind of levels of threats and different kind of levels of actions taken. And the system then prompts the end users primarily, telling them what's wrong and why is it wrong and how should they act to remove this threat. And in most cases, the end user are able to remove this threat and go back to normal state themselves. Unless that happens, of course, an administrator can help them out and make them safe again. And as soon as the threat has been removed or the updates have been taken or whatever, then everything is back to normal. They can access normal data as usual. So you minimize the efforts needed centrally. So it's not that an administrator or somebody locally centrally needs to take action. Most times the end users can sort this out on their own. And just to mention it, because we normally get questions about it, we don't have access or use any personal data. We are only looking at official app data, communication data. We don't have access to any credentials or information about where people are browsing to or what they are doing. We can only see what kind of applications that are used, etc. So we are very strict with personal data, as most organizations are today.
Yeah, good that you mentioned that, Fredrik. I was just about to ask you that, so that's a really good update. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing here on the client, we also get questions about battery consumption and stuff like that. And normally this client works in the background. It's a very thin client. If I look at my own phone, it consumes 1 to 2%. Of course, if you have a lot of incidents, you have a lot of things going on, then of course it could increase to 3, 4, 5%. But normally I would say that it works in the background and then it's about 1% of the battery capacity. So it's nothing that really affects the users from a battery point of view. And hopefully, normally, they don't see actually the application at all until something happens on the device. And hopefully then they are very happy that it actually triggered something. Yeah, many of our customers use this administrative tool very seldom actually, because they export information, they export the alarms, etc., to other tools that they use to consolidate these kind of things. Of course, if you want to change settings, you want to do something, you want to look at the integration with the different MDM tools, then you need to go into the console. So some people use it every day, but mostly it's quite rare actually that they go in and do things here. They export the information needed through the APIs that we offer. And as you can see here, we do support most of the big MDM, EMM suppliers today. So we do have different kind of integrations. It does work a little bit different dependent on what solution you have. And we can also integrate with multiple of them. So if you have different kind of user groups with different kind of EMMs, etc., we can actually create a solution to support different EMM solutions for the same organization. I hope that was fairly clear about how the solution works. Any questions is of course okay now or later.
Yeah, please, if you have any questions, place them in the chat window and we will answer them. So.
Yeah, I move on and we can take it in the end if they show up. Yep. And as I said, we do support most of the EMM solutions today. Perhaps we are closest with through our cooperation with Microsoft. Microsoft is actually also a small owner of Lookout, but we also see that their solutions are gaining market share, and a lot of users are moving to Intune. They use Azure, Microsoft Defender, etc., etc. And here we really, I really believe, and I think we can show it to you, that we do a lot of investment protection here, because we do reuse setup, settings, policies, and rules in these tools. So we do very smooth integrations with these tools, and you can use them as you go. And I think you hopefully will see that this is a very efficient way of using our solution together with, in this case, Microsoft tools. But if you choose another EMM, for example, we have very good integrations and reuse of policies and guidelines. So there will be no confusion in the organization that you are compliant with all rules that are set up for the organization. I won't go into details here, but we can share the slides afterwards so you can look at them. Yeah, very shortly, I mean, we are very proud what we have been doing for many, many years, and actually both IDC and Gartner sees us as the market leader when it comes to mobile security. It's a combination of our size. We are by far the supplier that has most active users on the solution, but also we are one of the leaders when it comes to R&D and being in the forefront of developing the solution as we go. So we are very happy for IDC, for example, just published a couple of weeks ago, third year in a row, we were mentioned as the market leader globally for mobile threat defense that are our niche. And just a wrap-up slide about Lookout. And I mean, it's not always good to be the biggest one, but as I said, we have a lot of devices connected. But that is, of course, good for our company, but it's also good for all our new customers, because, as I said, we gather information around the world from all these devices connected. So we are always as far ahead as we can be when it comes to different threats and implementing them into our security cloud. It is key actually to be on top of this. And I mean, through these years, we have looked at millions of apps and websites and stuff like this. We have identified thousands of different kind of threats, etc. And all this comes back to that it gives you as a company and every single user a safer workplace. And that is our only target and main target together with you, to secure the mobile workplace. And together with Onevinn, we can do this, and we can look at all the integrations and etc. to the organization that you have and all the processes that you have in place. Yeah, I think I wrap up there and leave it back to Olof if there is any questions, etc.
Yeah, thank you, Fredrik. Super. So, well, I'll try to see if I can share my screen again. I just had a short summary. I thank you for the good presentation as well. See if there you go. Yeah. So with just a short summary. And that is to start now. And for that, we have I would like to announce to everyone on this call that we have an exclusive half-day Lookout workshop for the first 5 customers who email me at olof.norman@onevinn.se, and they will have a half-a-day workshop with us together, and the first session will be on 15th of October. So for those of you who find this very interesting and want to have a quick start into using Lookout for security for your devices, this is a really good way to kick off that. If you find it interesting, please email me and we'll take it from there. And I don't see that there are any questions. So I think you have explained everything really, really good, Fredrik.
Or nobody understood.
Or
anything.
nobody understood anything. But I think it was really good. And I think if there aren't any questions, let's just leave it at that, and we'll give a couple of minutes back to you, to the audience, and say thank you for this webinar and for attending. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And bye-bye.